film enthusiasts, and welcome to another episode of the Indie Film Network. I'm your host, Devin J. Williams, and tonight we're diving into something truly special. Not just entertainment, but education in action. We are joined by Whit Whitman, a filmmaker who's dedicated himself to not just creating films, but creating opportunities for others to learn and grow in this industry. Tonight, we'll explore how practical experience and mentorship can transform aspiring creators into working professionals. We'll examine Whit's supernatural western, Unnatural, as a case study in indie filmmaking. Discuss his illuminating book, The Entrepreneur's Guide, Breaking into Acting, and unpack his innovative approach to actor development through his retreats. This isn't just about appreciating film. It's about learning how to make your own mark in the industry with realistic expectations and practical knowledge. So let's dive in and learn from someone who's navigated multiple creative industries and is now dedicated to helping others do the same. Here's my film review of Unnatural. I just finished watching Unnatural for the second time, and I have to say, this isn't your typical indie horror or western. What grabbed me immediately was how it plunges you into dread from the opening scenes. You're barely settled in your seat when suddenly there's this terrifying werewolf-like creature appearing out of nowhere, setting a tone of supernatural menace that carries throughout. What really stands out to me is Al Snow's performance as our grizzled protagonist. His gravely voice gives weight to every line, especially when he's reciting scriptures that punctuate key moments in the story. There's something powerful about how these biblical passages underscore the moral struggle at the heart of the film. A man hunting monsters as penance for his past. Snow doesn't just play a character. He embodies this tormented soul who seems to hear things others can't, adding an unsettling layer of psychological horror to the supernatural elements. I found myself particularly drawn to the nostalgic Western family dynamics that develop between the main character and the two kids who end up following him. That relationship feels authentic, especially with the genius kid Junior, who becomes almost a moral compass. Those quiet moments around campfires, sharing prayers against the monsters that Lucifer let loose, quote unquote, they ground this supernatural tale in something relatable and human. The film brilliantly balances its horror and western elements, creating something that feels both familiar and fresh. The supernatural creatures are genuinely unsettling, and I appreciate that they're brought to life with practical effects that give them a tangible presence. But it's the human monster inside our protagonist that creates the most compelling tension. That internal struggle between redemption and damnation, playing out across Snow's weathered face. What impressed me most about Unnatural is how Whitman maximizes limited resources to create a world that feels expansive and lived in. This isn't just a good indie film. It's a masterclass in creating something compelling with whatever resources you have at your disposal. The film proves that vision and creativity will always outweigh budget constraints, especially when you understand the genres you're working with as deeply as Whitman clearly does. This is the book review I wrote on The Entrepreneur's Guide, Breaking into Acting. When I started reading The Entrepreneur's Guide, Breaking into Acting, I was immediately struck by how useful it is right from page 1. This isn't another vague follow your dreams acting guide. It's a practical toolbox filled with specific strategies actors can implement immediately. Take the chapter on building your acting career without going broke. Whitman doesn't just tell you to keep your day job. He breaks down which flexible careers actually complement an acting schedule and outlines exactly how much money you should save before considering any major career moves. That's the kind of actionable advice that can save aspiring actors years of financial hardship. Or consider his complete essential film set terms section, a comprehensive glossary that transforms confusing film jargon into clear, practical knowledge. Knowing the difference between going dark and striking can prevent embarrassing mistakes in your first set and help you present as a professional from day one. What makes this book especially valuable is Whitman's entrepreneurial perspective on acting. Instead of treating acting as just an art form, he approaches it as a business requiring strategic planning and brand development. His section on the cheat code to acting in films offers concrete strategies for bringing additional skills to a production that increase your booking opportunities. Specific, practical advice you can implement immediately. The book doesn't sugarcoat reality, addressing tough topics like the mental health challenges actors face and the fact that most actors never achieve financial independence through acting alone. But rather than being discouraging, Whitman frames this reality as liberating, giving you permission to love acting passionately without the pressure of depending on it for your mortgage. From navigating conventions to vetting film projects to understanding post-production timelines, Whitman fills knowledge gaps that leave many actors vulnerable to exploitation. This guide isn't just about performing. It's about taking control of your career through entrepreneurial thinking, empowering you to create a sustainable, creative life on your own terms. Now here is a biography introducing Whit Whitman before we bring him on our show. Before we bring on our special guest, let me introduce you to Whit Whitman, a creator who spent 37 years in entertainment wearing just about every hat you can imagine. Whit's story begins in Brandenburg, Kentucky, population 2,400, where he grew up as the son of a military sergeant and a mother known for baking Christmas cakes for over 50 neighbors each year. That small town sense of community would later shape his approach to filmmaking and education. At just 14, Whit discovered Dungeons and Dragons, a pivotal moment that would set the course of his career. By 21, he'd already secured the license to create a role-playing game for the WWE. Yes, World Wrestling Entertainment. Think about that achievement for just a moment. While still in college, playing defensive end on a football scholarship at Murray State, Whit launched his first company, publishing the post-apocalyptic RPG, Mutazoids. This early success launched him into the gaming industry, where he worked on titles for the Three Stooges, Dragon Ball Z, and Ralph Bakshi's Wizards. These achievements caught the attention of TSR, the creators of Dungeons and Dragons, who brought him on as their Gen Con convention coordinator in 1994. Over his career, Whit has designed more than 50 tabletop games and RPGs, establishing himself as an award-winning graphic designer along the way. In the 2000s, Whit managed Larry Elmore's art company while expanding into printing services. But a new chapter began in 2008 when he started performing in community theater with his children. This experience sparked a passion that led him to Atlanta in 2011 to pursue acting professionally, landing roles in major productions like The Walking Dead and Baby Driver. Never content with just one creative outlet, Whit created Brothers Barbarian, a TV series where he both starred and wrote 11 episodes. By 2016, he transitioned into directing, and in 2018 founded Little Monster Entertainment, focused on independent film distribution. 2022 brought Whit back to Kentucky, drawn by the state's new film incentives. There he launched the Community Film Collaborative and School of Cinematic Arts, LLC. Programs dedicated to teaching underprivileged young adults the art of filmmaking and storytelling. Today, standing at 6'4", Whit serves as a writer and director for multiple projects, including Unnatural and the upcoming 12 Till Dawn and Eating Each Other. His development slate includes 14 additional projects spanning features and TV miniseries. What makes Whit truly unique is his dedication to transparency and education in an industry often shrouded in mystery. As he says in his own words, "My intent is not to vilify distributors and sales reps. Rather, it's to highlight the need for transparency and education to create a fair playing field. Let's level the playing field together and enabling more creators to bring their visions to life without falling into avoidable traps." We'll be right back with Whit Whitman after this short break. When we return, we'll dive deep into his actor development approach and filmmaking philosophy.
Your town has a problem.
And what is that, Mr. Remington?
Your town has vampires.
I would think that only children would believe in fairy tales.
I just thought I'd come over here and see how thick your skull really is. I'd rethink that if I was you.
I'd highly recommend you don't go messing with something that ain't got nothing to do with you. I'm on a mission from God.
We fight for evil and stand for what's right.
I'm gonna need some garlic. I'm gonna need some wooden sticks.
We got each other's backs. We stand up for the few.
There's something strange about those three.
One Remingtons, two.
Don't want to die today. I'd suggest you get the hell out.
You don't know how much power he has over these people. They would die for him.
The undead don't make deals with the living.
I'm here to save this town's ass. What I want, what I need, is to kill vampires.
Never corner something meaner than you.
Sometimes you can't predict what evil's gonna do. Go to hell.
If you go in there, you're gonna die.
Probably.
And welcome back to the Indie Film Network. Joining me now is Whit Whitman. And Whit, thanks so much for being here tonight. And I've just had the pleasure to explore your work through both Unnatural and your book. And I'm excited to dig into that. Not just that, but what you created, but the educational philosophy behind it all.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate being on your show tonight.
Yeah, it's amazing to have you. So let's. I'm gonna get started with this question. I got a really good one for you to start with.
All right, let's.
Yeah. So your book cuts through the fantasy and gets straight to the hard truths about acting as a business. Now, what specific experiences made you realize actors needed this kind of unfiltered reality check rather than more craft advice?
Well, there's plenty of books out there about Meisner or how the method act, or there's community theaters that teach you that. But the problem that we have in our industry is nobody actually tells you the business side of it, right? So, and then what they do tell you either comes from disgruntled people or people who are upset or about the system, or don't know how the system works, and they don't know that there's a different system for Hollywood versus independent movies that people are just making. And some people pay this, some people pay that. No one will tell you what anyone gets paid. So what I wanted to do was at least give a minimal playing field to know what you're in, right?
Yeah.
And so, of course, the cost that I put in right now in 2025 will differ, as time goes on. So, I mean, when I was doing background in Atlanta, we were getting paid $64, I think. Now in Atlanta, for a background, you get like 110 or 120 or something like that. So prices will go up, but everyone needs to not only understand what you could make, but the fact that there's so many people doing it that it keeps the prices down. So you're not going to start on year one and probably make anything other than gas money. And so I wanted everyone to understand that's what they were dealing with. Then the people who are serious can understand they're in for the long haul and what's going to happen. And people who are just in it for the sex, drug, and rock and roll just realize that's never going to happen for them, right?
Yeah.
So everyone comes in for the wrong reasons, but stays because they fall in love with the craft.
Yeah. That's awesome. Actually, I did do a lot of background work. I'm in Atlanta. I'm currently in Atlanta. And I did a lot of background work. I was on The Walking Dead too. I didn't know you were in The Walking Dead.
I was there when Negan came out. Like, I was there on the night Negan
what season? What season?
I think that was 5. Wasn't that when Negan showed up at the very end of the season?
Oh yeah. I think around 5. I'm in season 8. I'm on like 4 episodes. I was a savior, in a couple of episodes. So what did you play as? What was your role?
I was a savior. I was a pickaxe savior.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So when Negan comes out and they place everybody down on the ground, I'm the guy with a big pickaxe.
Okay, it's coming back to me. I remember seeing those photos all over the place. You were dead center with Negan.
Nobody wanted to. That was one of the few props that was real. And no one wanted to carry around a 27-pound prop.
Yeah.
They all wanted cheap ones. I said, well, I'll just put that on my shoulder. And then, of course, 160, 120 people there that night.
Yeah.
And I just got lucky to get right in the right area. So
that's great.
Anybody, I think I was in for them too.
Hey, it's right place, right time a lot of the time.
Yeah, I was there when they killed. No spoiler alert. When they
killed Glenn.
Yeah, killed everybody, and we had to keep that secret for about 8 months.
Oh yeah, I know. We're kind of way past that now. So I'm pretty sure everybody knows now. But all right. Yeah, so moving to the next part is, so you mentioned that Unnatural was created with 80% students and that your main actors taught classes. This seems fundamentally different from the pay-to-play model that's become common. Can you explain exactly how your actor education approach works and why you structured it this way?
Yeah, well, education equity is what I call it.
Okay.
The things some of the problems I had with pay-to-play is when people come in, sometimes they're just not good actors. It's their first time on set. They don't know anything. They can't deliver their lines, so they either get, placed in a dirty shot or cut out completely. And I said, what if we just have our main actors teach while they're there, so at least they understand where to stand, how to deliver their lines, and do it in such a way that I can put it in the movie.
Yeah.
Right? And bring our level up from this, roller coaster of good actors to bad actors to everybody, at least bringing in a B-. So when you watch the movie, you can go, oh, okay, yeah, I see.
Yeah.
And I think we did a fairly good job. And almost every one of them that I produce, we bring in about half students, and we will give them a minimum of 2 hours a day education.
All right.
And I'm not for sure you're going to learn how to act at that particular point, but what you can do is become confident enough to give your best performance. And when somebody's calm enough to give their best performance, they can give something that's pretty good.
Yeah. All right. So what? So now, many creators would keep the 28 hours of education provided during Unnatural as a proprietary secret. Now, what specifically motivated you to be so transparent about filmmaking processes in both your productions and your book?
Well, if everybody doing pay-to-play starts their own version of education equity, what we're all getting as producers is a group of people, because it's very small. Hollywood's small, even the independent stuff is small. So, you're talking about 8 or 9 or 10 of us doing kind of what we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm the only one in education equity. If the other 7 or 8 did it, right? We're going to have a pool of actors and crew. And each of them is just going to get higher and higher. So when you help the group, when you help everybody in the industry, it's going to help you too, right? So the objective is to tell the best way you can and help as many people as you can. And again, I see a lot of the actors from our movies going to other sets, and we've taught them how to act on set, what each camera lens kind of makes them look like, how to be confident, and they go on to the other sets and kind of become leaders for the other actors.
Yeah. Okay. So now for the Shakespeare chapter in your book, fascinated me. You make a very compelling case that classical training correlates directly with booking success. Now, what specific elements of Shakespeare training translate most effectively to film performance?
Well, when I was casting for my Unnatural TV film series, not Unnatural, but Unmortal, which is our fantasy, we probably got in 1,800 people. So I kept I had to go through 1,800 videos of everyone trying out for different roles, and probably we got it down to the last 10%. And that's when I made the discovery, when I looked at their resumes, almost every last one of them had Shakespearean background, except for 3. And then I reached out to them and I said, hey, and all 3 of them go, oh yeah, we didn't put it on our resume because we didn't think you would care.
Yeah,
so all of the top 10% of the people, and I think it's because they teach, I'm going to mess it up, I'm dyslexic, atanic parameter. Right.
Iambic parameter.
Yes.
Pentameter. Iambic pentameter. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes,
and what happens is you're learning to say words you've never heard before in such a way that you can evoke emotion behind it, right? So that means once you kind of learn how to do it with what I would consider gibberish words, well, now you can do it to any script you get. You'll understand how you got this flow and this seesaw and this, wonderful, and then you can bring it over into regular acting. Now, of course, you want to pull that back to give more of a natural flow, but I think it helps people with this ability to take words and emphasize each of them.
Yeah.
Like one of the exercise I give students when they're on set is, the how now brown cow. And just to understand, to go, how now brown cow, or how now brown cow, or how now brown, emphasize different words so that you're just not reading a line, you're actually emphasizing something and making something important to your character, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Iambic pentameter is something that I've been studying as well for a long time in my own writing, and it works. It's almost like we resonate with. It's almost like we align ourselves with the actual, with whatever it is that we're doing. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I'm sure your book goes into that a lot. Doesn't it? Yeah. But so you write that acting is not pretending. It's about finding truth in imaginary circumstances. How do you actually teach this distinction in practical terms at your actors' retreats?
Well, I think at this last actors' retreat, I had somebody that was stumbling a lot. And what I was trying to do was I said, hey, I need you to say these words you don't normally say, which was, his character had to say something along the line of, I know a whole lot about demons because, I play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So he was stumbling all over him, and I said, what do you do for a living? He says, I'm an IT specialist. I said, do you know a lot about computers? Yeah. And you know a lot about the apps that go on these computers? Absolutely. Well, he said he knew about networking. So I said, now just say, I know a lot about computers and I know a lot about networking, which of course he could say because that was every day of his life. I said, now just replace 2 words. I know a lot about Dungeons and Demons because I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. And as soon as he could, figure out that he could take something from his life and just change it a little bit, he got comfortable. And that's what we do. We try to help the actors get comfortable enough to say things. And I think when I was in Georgia, I was working with an actress who said, do you think actors lie? And I go, yeah. And she go, no, actors don't lie. They actually go to a place where they become what they're doing.
They're becoming the characters, Cruz.
Yeah, well, like when I did Brothers Barbarian, the first season, I was my character. Duck, running around being my character. Second season, I expanded to where not only was I my character, but I believed you were your character.
Yeah.
Right? And then by the third season, I was like, now I believe I'm in the world. And when I got that deep into the acting part, I didn't see cameras anymore. I did, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I think John is one of our instructors that works with us, said it's almost like he becomes a character and he's watching him like a jockey on a horse. And again, you want to learn from every different type of actor you can. It's like martial arts, learn a little jiu-jitsu, a little kung fu, learn different styles, and then learn to become your own. And then what we'll try to do is just help you get comfortable and so you can get those lines and those backgrounds. We do a special thing for each of our students called a fourth take. So what I'll do is I'll let your character have a monologue at the end of a scene, and if it's good enough, we'll keep it in the movie. But if not, then you'll have something that you can put on IMDb.
Okay, so like a monologue, like being like in their own head and stuff, right? Ooh, okay.
Yeah, well, it'll be towards the scene,
It'll
be something that's. I always tell people you don't need monologues longer than 30 seconds because most of the time you're taking these and putting them on, Actors Access, which is where everybody gets cast, and they charge $44 for the first 30 seconds. 30 seconds, as I tell you, as a director, that's enough in 30 seconds for me to know if I'm going to hire you or not.
All right.
So
now you've been both filmmaker and game designer. Two fields centered around world building. Now, how specifically did your experience create an RPG worlds influence the supernatural elements and mythology in Unnatural?
Oh, that's a good question.
I like that one.
I became kind of a genius at making up worlds, and I think in the 80s and 90s, when we were developing games, we would always hope that someone from Hollywood would come and see our worlds and make games about them, and they just never did. So I did the opposite. Now you're going to make movies, and now I'm coming back and merchandising my own movies.
That's so good. That is great.
Yeah,
I love that.
And so the mythology part, I teach a little bit of writing, but once you learn world building, like we actually have a deep mythos for Unnatural that most people will never see. But if you watch the movie and then get the role-playing game, this is how this is worked. Like for instance, what people don't realize is people like Dan Remington in the story are hunters, and they work for God.
Yeah.
And so we never mentioned that until, you can see the other people coming in working for God. You can see Dan coming in working for God. But then when you buy the role-playing game, you'll see actually that there's a whole bunch of people that work for God to hunt down all these monsters and demons. And it originally started because I really like Supernatural, and I said, I wonder how this all started.
That's what I saw. I was watching Unnatural, and part of me, I was like, demon, like he's hunting demons, supernatural creatures and stuff. I mean, that reminds me of Supernatural a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and so originally it was Dan Winchester, and I go, I'm going to get sued for this, so I'm changing it.
Dan Winchester, yeah, no, that would have been, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah, probably.
There's going to be a cease and desist there. But, playing Dungeons and Dragons, you can come up with your own mythology.
Yep.
And, throw a little twist here and there,
I wonder, I am curious. So what is your process on turning these films into your RPG worlds? Like, how do you plan on bringing that into a tabletop game type of idea? If you don't mind.
Well, actually, the one of my good buddies, Tony Lee, created what's called a cinematic system, to where there's not a lot of game mechanics. It's everyone telling the story at the same time, with the director allowing it or not allowing it, and you have guts and coincidence, and you start out with low guts and high coincidence. No, and then you just say, hey, there should be a gun over here or a weapon over here, or there were horses. And then he might go, okay, roll your coincidence. If you roll less than it, then it happens.
Yeah.
And it's more storytelling, more building, and less, hey, I want to jump 7 feet and roll some dice. So you'll have to see it. I'll get you a preview copy of it, because it's...
Yeah, let me get that.
And then we can take each of our different flavors of stories, like we have Eating Each Other, which is our love zombie movie. And so this system will just make pretty pictures for each of these things, and we'll see how far out. Right now we're talking with Spencer's about, for Smokey, we have a Ouija board, WEEDGEE.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they summon the weed demon.
You mean
comes up?
You mean Spencer's, like the Spencer's in the mall? Or like... Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Oh, man, that's awesome. Okay.
Well, we'll see if, it might stop us with the Chinese tariffs if it gets too expensive, but we'll see what's going to happen.
I'm definitely I'm hoping that happens. That sounds like that sounds great.
Yeah.
So now going back to the book, you address actors' mental health head on. Now, what concrete practices have you found most effective for helping creative people maintain resilience in the face of rejection?
Well, the main thing that they need to understand, that the odds are so far against you of making any of this work, but here's the rules, here's at least a playing ground for you. Understand there are people sleeping in cars to take your job, and realize maybe you should do this for the joy of the art.
Yeah.
So what I try to do is, like, reading this book, immediately half of the people are going to go, yeah, this isn't for me anymore. I didn't know that all of this stuff was going on. And then the other ones will go, okay, now I have a direction. Yeah. Now I know what I'm going to have to do to make this work. And so part of mental health is just not feeling like you're being lied to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if somebody said, oh, this is how it really works, but no, I'm going to do this for 3 years and then I'm going to be famous. Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. If having those expectations and then having those expectations crushed. Something like that, right?
Well, I mean, when you realize that if you're going in the Hollywood model, that most of those people are brought up in the system from the time they were young kids. Nepotism is huge there. And you're only looking at 500 to 1,000 people that are full-time actors that make the big money. And they got to die before somebody else gets in there. For you to come in as a secondary character or a day player, you have to have done something special or networked with enough people.
Right,
And once again, that's the Hollywood model. But then there's the independents that are going out and just doing these movies and like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. About 1 out of 40 of them
I saw that.
hit something big, or The Terrifier. You know, it made, I think, $50 million in the movie theaters, the highest grossing movie that never had a rating.
Was it because that I know a lot of these went into the public domain? Is that why they started having all of these come out with different renditions?
Yeah,
that's what I think.
So the company that does the Winnie the Pooh had a Pooh-verse, and they're going to be coming out with Bambi and
that's
anything else.
crazy.
I think next year Betty Boop comes public domain.
Wow.
So you're probably going to see Betty Boop.
Get a lot of horror slashers.
Well, it's free publicity. It's money you don't have to spend, and people know who they are.
It's public domain now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And now back to the book. Many directors struggle to communicate what they actually want from actors. Now, based on your chapter, What a Director Really Wants, what's the single most important quality an actor can bring to a set beyond technical preparation?
Listen to everybody. Be a team player. And, most actors want to do what the director wants them to do. So being applicable, to taking direction and understanding, and again, I say that, and there's different types of directors. I'm the type of director that cheers you on, sees what you bring, and then tries to bring out what you're bringing me.
Yeah.
Right? Not, someone who goes, nope, this is how this character is, and you're going to be this character, right? So, again, every director's different, but understanding that it's teamwork. I teach a lot of actors. I go, say you're working with another actor and they're not doing well, but if you go up to that actor and say, hey, you want to practice lines with me, it will offend them because there's a lot of egos in this industry. So I tell them one technique is to go up to them and say, hey, I don't have my lines down. Will you help me with my lines? It's kind of a little bit of backsidedness.
It helps.
Sorry,
I was just going to say, sorry about that. I didn't want to interrupt you. But it does.
No.
I get what you're saying, though, because it's good to be vulnerable. It's good to show a vulnerable side, because if you don't show vulnerability, then you're never going to get the help you need, because you think perfection is... Like, I've experienced that myself. I struggled with that myself. And then whenever I started becoming more vulnerable, a lot more started happening for me.
I got lucky to work with I had a lot of mentors. I worked with a gentleman named Larry Elmore, one of the top fantasy artists in the world. And when I was working with him, he would ask me my opinion on this new painting he was working on.
Yeah.
He was 65, 70 years old. I'm a nobody. Why is he asking? But the thing is, I again worked with 14-time novelist Margaret Weiss. The thing that I see with all of these people is they're always learning. So if they're always learning, you will always be learning. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a difference to showing up and being confident, showing up and being an asshole. And I think in my book I say most of the time, just don't be an asshole to people. It's a team sport.
Exactly.
I agree. Making a movie is that. Be vulnerable, help others, and I promise you, if you're in a scene with a new actor and you go out of your way to help them, you're building your scene with them.
Yeah.
First going, oh yeah, they were a horrible actor, and look, my scene fell flat.
Yeah.
Help people.
Yeah, help people. Be humble. I think humbleness is too what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easier said than done, but with practice. That's what it is.
Yeah. You gotta be, if you're a good actor, then pretend to be humble.
Yeah. Pretend to be humble. There you go. Just pretend to be humble.
Just act humble, and you'll go farther, especially... and the next thing that I tell people in the independent business versus the Hollywood model, learning something else is important. Like learning boom, makeup, costumes. The more things, I can't tell you how many people go, yeah, I'll come and do this if you'll put me in the movie. It's a bartering system, right? So
I did that
tell
too.
all actors is learn some other things.
Yeah. Someone actually in an indie film that exact thing happened. You mentioned they needed someone for Boom. I just kind of learned on the spot, and they put me in the film. I wasn't even originally in it. That happened a few years ago with an indie film, just when I was really active in the industry. But yeah, that type of thing happens. I was experiencing it. So, going back to Unnatural, you managed to complete Unnatural on a $50,000 budget. Now, what specific production strategies allowed you to maximize your resources while maintaining quality? Because the movie looks good on that budget.
Yeah. The main thing that is important for any education equity is to make sure that everyone is housed and everyone's fed. Mm-hmm. So a majority of our money, probably $25,000, went just to feeding the 35, 40 people on set. And we found a western town in Linfield, Tennessee called Possum Trot. And it could bed 30 people. So everyone stayed on set. And that's what I'm finding as a difference. I find large places where we can all stay and have classes and live together. And you'll learn more about a person in 10 days when you're around them all the time.
Yeah.
And once again, you got to have lead actors who want to help. Like John Wells and Darren Lee Cupp would actually teach, and they weren't in the scenes. They would show up to help teach while the students were doing the scenes.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many actors, if you give them an opportunity to teach, would teach. Our last one, Smokey, had Scream Queen Lynn Lowry in it.
Ooh,
right?
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so she taught some classes.
She was in that? Lynn?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's great. I did an interview with her a few years ago too.
She's in Atlanta now. So
she's in Atlanta right now. Okay, I haven't spoken to her in a long time. I might actually get her on the show at some point. So the chapter on due diligence, going back to the book, the chapter on due diligence, vetting film projects, offers crucial advice for actors. Now, what specific red flags should actors look for when evaluating whether a project is legitimate versus potentially exploitative?
Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. The most dangerous person in this industry isn't the ones that are trying to take advantage of you. It's the really good person that doesn't know how to do anything and everyone wants to help them. And they have no clout to be in that position.
Yeah. And
raise tens of thousands of dollars and the movies will never come out because they just don't understand how this thing works. So that happens a lot. So the thing you want to look for is you want to go to IMDb and you want to go to LinkedIn. And IMDb gives you a pretty good history of who somebody is. But then again, are these people in college? College films are okay. Or is somebody transparent enough to say, hey, this is my first one, right? But I think you have the right to ask them, are you going to go the festival route? Do you have distribution? I think an actor or anybody has they're so scared that they won't get the gig that they don't ask the right questions. Who are they? How are they involved? What things have they done in the past? IMDb, once again, really good on things. Look them up on LinkedIn. Again, you may want to work with a first-time guy because you're a first-time person too. Just know that maybe all you're going to get out of this is a demo reel, maybe.
Yeah. But
know where you stand.
Yeah.
Right.
A demo reel is always good. A demo reel is always a good thing to have too. I'm sure. It gives.
Yeah. Again, when I teach people when they're starting out, if you go to Actors Access, you want to have a 30-second clip on you being a good guy, you being a bad guy, and then you being either action or comedy. That way, when you submit for the roles there, you have one for each of them.
Ah, okay.
It's,
So now your community film initiatives for underprivileged young adults represent a significant commitment to education. Now, what measurable outcomes have you seen from these programs so far?
well, so far I've had four people come in through the Danville community, and I got 3 of them into college to continue on. And,
Okay.
and so I use the government programs to help find kids that have a barrier to entry to the job workforce.
Yeah.
Usually they're ADHD, suffer from depression, maybe went to jail, something like that. They're usually 18 to 24, and then I help mentor them. And you know, so here's my story. I was going to get out of doing all this because I go, yeah, I'm getting old. I haven't made it. I'm done. And so I teach something to all my students. I have 5 roles. If you're depressed, volunteer. If you're lost, take on responsibility. If you're angry, figure out what past trauma you need to resolve. Don't overestimate who you are today, and do not underestimate what you can do tomorrow. That mantra can get you through almost anything.
I love that. Where is that posted?
I just
Is this
I
your...
just came up with it through my life. I've had a hard life, my friend.
Man.
So,
Well,
I
great
learned
mantra.
most of my through failure, not through success.
yeah.
The difference is are you the kind of person that lets failure stop you? Or are you the person that says, you know what, I'm going to find a different way of making this happen? So I gave up on it, went down to go help these kids. And this program exists in every state, by the way. You can help kids, mentor them from 18 to 24, and teach them a skill, and the government will pay them to learn from you, right?
Wow,
and so
okay.
the only 2 things I cared about was that I made Dungeons and Dragons and games, role-playing games, and I made movies. So it's like I told the universe, yeah, I'm done with all this, and the universe goes, oh, here you go, here it is. And then I just started mentoring these kids. I mentored them each for about 480 hours. And then, like I said, I got all of them into college. One just decided it wasn't his gig, after a semester. But that's what I tried to do. That's what I still try to do. And hopefully, if I can do 2 a year,
Yeah.
another 20 more years, that's 50 or 60 kids, hopefully, that I help.
Yeah.
And it's in storytelling to find their way.
That's amazing. You got to send me that mantra. I need that mantra. All right, so going into the book again, the small world of independent filmmaking chapter emphasizes how reputation spreads in this industry. Now, what single behavior have you seen most frequently damage an actor's career opportunities?
Again, what happens to most actors is they have a delusion that once they get into this industry and their movie comes out that they're going to be famous, right? And they don't understand that every commercial, every movie is an opportunity for them to promote themselves, right? I can't be responsible for anyone's happiness. I can't be responsible for anyone's career.
Yeah.
And they get into pay-to-plays and small movies thinking this is going to be a highway to get into real movies. And it's not. There's a whole different road there. So what happens is a lot of actors will come into this system after 2, 3, 4 years, get disgruntled, and then start talking about how this director promised me the world, this person promised me the world. And so by being transparent and saying, look, I'm just showing you how this works, giving you the information that the level, the playing field. And once again, if I straight up tell any actor, your odds of making it are 1 in 100,000.
Yeah.
1 in 100,000.
A lot of odds.
But I used to, when people came in, I used to kind of be an asshole about it many years ago, 10, 15 years ago. But then I realized it's not me to suck the joy out of your life. Mm-hmm. If you want to become an actor and pursue it, so what I teach people is, don't go for what makes you happy. Go for what brings you joy. If you can pursue acting and it just is joyful whether you ever make it or not, you're on the right track. But if you have ambitions that, by year 5, I'm going to be in a Netflix series, that's, unless you go and network.
You just go all in.
That's probably not going to happen. So get into this industry because it brings you joy and you're a storyteller. And if you can figure out how to make a living doing it, and you can be happy with that, you're on the right track. If you think you're going to be the one that that's the 1 in 100,000, and you're not even flying around the world or meeting the producers that are at that level, right?
You're gonna do the work.
Again, it's transparency, expectations. Getting the people the right mental way looking at this industry.
It's one thing sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
Actually, I lost my train of thought, to be honest. But
that's all right. Well,
continue with what you're saying.
I keep telling the distributors that I deal with, teach the producers what the real expectation is. Yeah. Like, for instance, if let's say you put out a movie and it gets into AMC's and you make, just for easy math, you make them at, right?
Yeah.
AMC's going to take half of it. So now you're down to 500,000, right? Then the guy who put it into the theaters, it's almost like $30,000 to $50,000 just for the hard drives and the movies and the posters, just shipping them out. It's like $27,000 to ship them, right? So let's say he puts in a little advertising. So he puts in $150,000 with advertising. So you lose half of it. Now you take out 150, and then you're splitting it with your distributor 60-40. So at the end of the day, you're only getting about $250,000 out of that million.
Yeah, and you haven't gotten taxes yet.
So then what ends up happening is these people go around and go, my distributor just screwed me out of all my money. And it's like, no, they didn't. That's how the business works. No one's told them that.
Yeah.
So I keep saying, not only can you be on that level with actors, you can be on that level as a distributor and producers.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Like the Terrifying movie did $50 million, right?
Terrifier?
Yeah, Terrifier did $50
crazy.
million. So probably, again, at the end of the day, the producers of that, the people that were in it, now I do know Cinedyne bought them, so really Cinedyne made all that money. But you're looking maybe the first one or two, right? And so you're looking at $50 million, and maybe they made 12 and a half, maybe 15 or 20.
Yeah.
After everybody takes their cuts. So it sounds like a lot of money to us, and of course, who wouldn't want 12.5 million or 20 million? But again, if you didn't know how the business works, you'd be upset.
By the time you got to that point, and then you're like, wait, what the heck is this? They lost like, yeah.
And so nobody's talking about the transparency behind it. So I said, I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell people what they're in for.
Yeah.
Not to tell them not to do it, but to say, have this healthy mindset. So I think this all comes back to you saying, how do you get an actor to be in the right wellness and healthiness? Well, first of all, have, if it's an orange, show them it's an orange.
Yeah.
Don't show them it's the fruit basket and you get all of it. You're only going to get that orange out of it.
Yeah.
Be with them.
Yeah.
But some people, now you said, who takes advantage of people? Some people, some producers, feel, hey, it's not my obligation to tell you what's real and what's not. And so, if you're dumb, you're dumb. If you don't know, you'll learn.
You just gotta know that you're gonna make a lot of mistakes along the way. Like, it's not gonna be a perfect road. It's gonna be rocky. It's gonna be, you're gonna mess up a lot. Doubt's gonna just pummel you. That's with like everything, though.
But here's the thing. But that's everyone.
Yeah.
So when you realize that it's everyone, then you're normal.
Yeah, just know that you're not alone. Know that you're not alone. Other people are going through this too. And then you feel more like, hey, I'm not alone in this battle.
And realize you picked one of the hardest things to get into because everybody wants to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And so what ends up happening is only people that learn their craft end up rising to the top. And even some of them explode because they don't like the fact. I mean, you look at someone like Tom Cruise. He has to make $20 million a film or $40 million a film because he's got 270 people that he's that work for him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Tom Cruise is
I mean, that's not fair to say, but assuming you're pretty famous, you've got. I mean, how many people you think work for Taylor Swift?
A lot of people.
And she's paying them.
Yeah.
Not somebody else paying for her.
Yeah, for sure. So I got about 2 more questions here, and then we'll wrap up. Yeah, so your book suggests that most actors should build careers in their regions before considering a move to major markets. Now, what specific advantages does this regional first approach provide?
Well, I do think, having, there's top 6 agencies, right? The CIA, I forget what all of their names are. But they'll want to have exclusivity when you finally get big for them.
Yeah.
But for everybody else, you might as well have somebody in Toronto, somebody in New York, somebody in Atlanta, somebody in Chicago, somebody in Nashville, and they'll only want state exclusivity, right?
Yeah.
So the first one will pick you up because because you actually have some talent. Then once you pick up 5 or 6 of these people, then hopefully they're going to get you some day playing experience, and your whole objective, again, just like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, your whole objective is to catch lightning in a bottle as an actor, hoping that creative artist agency will pick you up, right? And then you just drop the rest of them. But to think that you're just going to go to CAA and they're going to go, oh yeah, great.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. You're going to get in there because you know somebody, or you met somebody, or you sang a song on YouTube that got 25 million views in less than a week, right?
Yeah, right.
They're going to pick up people. They're going to pick up people based off of what they think they can sell.
Yeah.
And again,
Man. It's what they
there's
sell.
only 7 spots.
It's what they can sell. That's why Disney keeps remaking everything and not putting anything new out. Oh my God.
Well, again, they also want to know that you're pretty controllable in Hollywood. If you got to get up at 8 a.m., you get up at 8 a.m. You got to get up at 5 a.m. Right? So there's a whole lot of other things in the Hollywood market that you don't deal with in the independent market. So
get it. So now looking at Little Monster Entertainment's future, what specific gap in film education or distribution are you most focused on addressing in the next few years? What's the future of Little Monster?
What I'm actually doing is I'm in the process of becoming a post-secondary school in the state of Kentucky. After 2 years, I'll be able to apply to become an actual technical school, and that's where we're headed.
Okay.
Because we're at the verge right now or if you have an iPhone 16 or better, or even some of the other things, you have all the equipment you need to make a movie.
Like now, even, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the barrier of entry of making a movie is less than $5,000 now. If you can get if you can have writing, you know. And so what I'm going to do is teach people how to do it practically, and you know, and we haven't even talked about AI coming in the next 5 to 10 years.
Crazy stuff happening with that.
Yeah, so I mean,
Runway ML, Lionsgate partnered with Runway. Like Lionsgate partnered with an AI video company. There's got to be something there.
And 5 years from now, movies are going to be made with 10 people sitting at computers, each doing their own specialty. I call them AI whisperers. They're going to be whispering to the AIs, and everyone putting and collaborating a movie together. That's going to be in 5 years. I think where you're going to see a lot of actors and a lot of things, they're probably going to sprout here's a human-only, low-end movies. And then I think everything's going to go back to stage, right? So stage and live music and things like that, with most of the big cinematic movies being made by AI.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a whole nother conversation.
We could talk another hour on that.
Yeah. Like I would love to even, but yeah, but what you know, Whit, this conversation has been incredibly valuable, not just for me, but for anyone looking to navigate the entertainment industry with clear eyes. Now, before we wrap up, you know, what specific resources would you recommend for people interested in your actors retreats or your educational philosophy? Where can they learn more about your approach?
For education equity, I do offer crew and actors. I have one film we're going to be filming in June called Protect the Block. If you want more information about it, you go to littlemonsterentertainment.com, go under Protect the Block actor retreat. And as far as the acting book, it will be on Amazon this Friday. You can buy it there. I'm going to put it up on Kindle as soon as I can get it up there too.
Okay.
I'll probably be making another book for producers and for directors.
All right.
And I should probably put out a book on education equity, but I do have my instructors, you know, once again, I hope if people watching that do pay to play producers, reach out to me. I'll give them all the information on how to do education equity. Because when everybody grows that way, we'll just have a better pool of actors and crew.
All right, fantastic. I can't wait to get that book, man. I am definitely going to pick it up when it drops. But yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on the show. We'll chat again soon, okay, Whit?
All right, see you, brother.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
man. Bye-bye. All right, now what an illuminating conversation with Whit Whitman. His commitment to demystifying the filmmaking process and empowering new creators through practical education is something our industry desperately needs. For those of you who want to experience Whit's work firsthand, Unnatural is available for free on Tubi by Freebie Movies. His book, The Entrepreneur's Guide, Breaking into Acting, will be available on Amazon for $9.99. And based on what we've discussed today, I'd consider that an investment rather than an expense for anyone serious about building a sustainable creative career. This is what the Indie Network is all about, not just celebrating creative vision, but providing practical knowledge that helps you turn your own vision into reality. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next week with another conversation focused on the concrete skills and knowledge you need to thrive in independent filmmaking and the future of creating. Good night, everyone.